Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Wellness Day, a podcast coming to you every Wednesday here from the Jahangir Wellness Center. My name is Kavas Jahangir, here from the JWC studio. And today I've got someone I've been wanting to talk to for a very, very long time. I've got Teja Shah Mehta, who I've been, as I said, really, really looking forward to talking to. So thank you so much for being here, Teja.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, right before we started, I was trying to ask you how's the best way. I've known you for a while now, but how's the best way to introduce you? Because you're so eclectic in everything that you do. So, what I was going to say is that you're someone who started off with yoga and then moved to dancing and then a whole lot of movement. And now you started a lovely, lovely space called Unleash Movement. And perhaps the most, or the crown in your feather right now is being a super mom, which is the latest thing. So, but yeah, I really couldn't think of the best way to introduce you other than just listing out things. But I'd probably let you be the one to take us through how you started on this incredible journey of fitness and movement that I know you're so passionate about.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for the introduction. I actually, well, I didn't really start my career in fitness.
Okay.
I was actually in tech. I graduated as an engineer. Typical, you don't know what you want to do in life and you're decent at science and math. And so your dad puts you into and, encourages you to go to a
Right.
engineering college. So I was actually in the US for a good 8 years. 5 years
Right.
in San Francisco. And I was working in tech at the time, but I was exposed to a number of beautiful boutique fitness studios over there. And I'm proud to say that a lot of those fitness regimes have been adapted in India, but at that time it was fairly new.
Yeah. Otherwise, it then was just a standard go to the gym.
Exactly. Traditionals, go to the gym,
Yeah.
lift weights, and nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But this was something new, and it was very easily to access. There was something called ClassPass where you could, these unicorn companies were like trying to get as much adoption on their platforms. So I got to access like hundreds of classes for $1.
Okay.
And with that, after I stayed there for 5 years, I met my husband, Param, who
Right.
you will know as well.
Yeah.
And y'all share this passion for music.
Right.
But I came back to India and I was still working at a company called Dhruva.
Okay.
So I moved to Pune, was working at Dhruva.
Tech.
In tech.
Okay.
They do like data projection
Yeah.
solutions. So once I got here, though, I actually took a sabbatical
Okay.
for about a month from the company. And I went and did my yoga teacher training because I could feel myself getting deep into yoga. I really enjoyed it as a practice. And so I decided that why not take a leap and just see if this is actually something that I can teach. And so I went for my yoga teacher training and I came back, and for a while I was actually teaching in the mornings. And since I was interfacing with US clients, I was working in the evenings.
Oh wow. So
Uh,
full day.
Yeah, full day. But it didn't feel like the full day
Yeah.
because that first part of the day was, something I was really passionate about. And then I finally gained the confidence to, quit my job. And that's when and then this vision of Unleash.
That's a big leap of faith.
It was. Especially because it came right before the lockdown.
Okay.
When everything became online.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was still just a concept at
Right.
the time. Yeah.
Because I mean, I've seen some. I said big leap of faith, but that's also partially because I've seen a lot of your stories on Instagram where you're actually taking a lot of very, very big leaps of flexibility in your yoga, which was incredible to see.
Yeah.
But then there's also this aspect of which I love to see is your passion for dance and how you incorporated that into it as well and stuff. So it became its own thing.
Niche. Absolutely. So actually before it started off as yoga,
Yeah.
and I definitely did gravitate towards the handstanding and
Yeah.
palm balancing
Right.
part, where you're standing on your two hands and kind of just trying to find
Yeah.
balance.
Well, I've seen you stand on one hand as well. So
you kind of keep getting, you get a little crazier every time. But the whole concept behind Unleash, what I was trying to bring out, is allow people to experience and access what I experienced, which is flow state.
Yeah.
And I know you have touched upon this
right.
before because you're
Well,
a drummer.
I was gonna ask you again, what is flow state
So,
for you?
yeah. So, in fact, And flow state is not, for people who are unfamiliar with it, it's not just a sequence of yoga postures,
Yeah.
right? It's actually this state of mind where you're so completely emotionally, physically, and, mentally involved or
Yeah.
absorbed in something that you're doing that, time fades away.
Right,
You sense that you have this sense of clarity. You feel pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah.
Right? And you would have experienced that while drumming.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think I experienced this in pole dancing, for example,
Wow.
which is one thing that I got to experience while I was actually still working in tech.
Right.
I went for a pole fitness class with a very close friend and a teacher called Nupur Chaudhary.
Okay.
And so she, this is like a sport that it's actually a fitness form. It's not even just dance. It's
Yeah.
you need.
Because I mean, I suppose the
tremendous-
stereotype was
Yes.
more on the erotic side.
It is, and that's probably how it started. But then it's transformed, and you'd see the Indian form of that, which is Malkham. It's very similar. Yeah,
Right.
we some people say that pole dancing was inspired by Malkham. Okay, so it's something we should be very proud of.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. And we have that offering at Unleash as well,
Okay.
just because we want to promote
Yeah.
Indian fitness forms
Right,
that are
right,
just
right.
untapped. And so I experienced flow state myself when I did parkour, which is
Okay.
again another.
Oh, you've done that too.
Yeah, big thing. I did parkour, which is again something where you need to be consistent, and it requires repetition. Even
Right.
in drumming, to
Yeah.
get into that, to get lost in
Yep,
that
yep.
rhythm, it's about repetition in your
Absolutely, yeah.
practice, right? So all of these forms that I discovered before I started Unleash had that effect of pulling me into flow state.
Yeah.
And I just wanted students to experience that. And so none of the classes that we have at Unleash are really
One-dimensional.
one-dimensional.
Which is why I came back to trying to introduce you. I have no idea how I could do it because you're covering so many different things.
I know, and even when I have to describe myself, I feel very caged if I have to, like just because it's
Which I think is a beautiful thing.
yeah.
Because I've seen the space that you've actually created physically, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful space. And you can't really describe what it is in that sense because it's accessible for anything.
It is.
Because I know you even do salsa classes.
Yes,
And stuff
yes,
like that.
yes. And so many people use dance, and the people who come for their salsa classes, they're people who come from work. They used to have the class at like 9 p.m. so that they could actually cater to people who were just wanted to let loose post work. So it was just the perfect addition to what
Right,
we already
right.
have at
Amazing.
the studio. Yeah.
But coming back to your wellness.
Yeah.
And how you started off with yoga and then gone through this journey of various forms of movement.
Yeah.
How have you found that it's benefited you personally from a obviously physical standpoint and from a mental standpoint?
Yeah. So one is, I think this flow state is a very powerful thing,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to be consistent and disciplined
Yeah.
to be able to do it's not just when you look at a handstand or when you look at any of these armbands, anything complicated. It takes years of work and years of just being consistent, and also being able to relay that message to the people who
Yeah.
attend your classes. So I think that part is a really big part of my journey. The other part is, I have also been through a knee surgery, for example.
Oh yeah, that's
And that has been a major learning because on one hand, my mobility is what kind of got me back into just managing to get back into my
Right.
practice. But you learn a lot from
and you come back
injuries.
stronger.
You come back stronger. You come back smarter.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
make better decisions.
Right. You come back with more appreciation because you
So
don't
much
realize what you're missing until you miss it.
You went through chikungunya.
Yeah.
And so you know what, and you powered through your sister's wedding, but you were able to kind of get through. Once you
Stumble
got
through,
past
yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, stumble through because of pain, not because of anything else.
But then the things that probably came to your attention was,
Yeah.
I need to, focus on these aspects
Exactly, yeah.
of my fitness.
Yeah.
And I can't take it for granted,
Absolutely,
right? So
yeah.
I think the idea of being able to bounce back
Mm-hmm.
is, just going in with the idea of bouncing back, because everyone's going to go through traumatic events. Traumatic being the technical term. It's more like you go through an injury or you go through childbirth, for example. It's not trauma. I wouldn't call it trauma, but it is
A big event.
huge physiological change, right? So I think being able to bounce back has a much larger, this overarching importance in terms
Yeah.
of just maintaining fitness.
Right.
And so, yeah, so that's kind of like diving into so many different forms has taught me what to cut out and as well as what needs to stick.
And I've seen how it's held you in great stead.
Yeah.
I'll give you a embarrassing Teja story.
Oh, no way. Oh, no.
Because I love going to the gym, and that's my kind of release of
Yeah.
or what I enjoy from the fitness side. So I enjoy weightlifting and training in that sense. And I've seen a lot of your stuff that you've done also as well. And I remember one story that I saw on Instagram is that I was just scrolling through, and then I see Teja pop up, which I always do at some point, but you're doing some crazy kind of twist or the other. But that day you were doing pull-ups. And then I was like, whoa, that's cool. And then I clicked the next story, and then I saw that, oh, she's doing pull-up with a massive weight now. And she's doing multiple of them. And so, like, that is really cool.
Yeah.
And that is something that's great to see, because I think more ladies like yourself definitely need to, put that out there in terms of a lot of sort of misconceptions, or a lot of people that have this fear that, or girls particularly, that they step into a gym or they touch a weight that they're going to become bulky, or their arms are going to be, big, which
Right.
is a problem I wish I had. But still, that's something I thought
Hey,
that.
you're looking great too, Kavas.
Thank you. Thank
But,
you. No, but the point I wanted to make is that it's amazing what you do, and
Yeah.
it's something that definitely needs to
Yeah.
come out, that it's amazing.
Yeah. No, so I think it's a really important message. I think there are a few myths around strength training in women in general that need to be somewhat debunked, right? So one is, of course, becoming bulky like a man is one of the very common concerns, and that's what makes women resist going and working at the gym or going to calisthenics. But we don't have the hormonal environment to become bulky. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Yeah.
If you, with the right training regime and the nutrition expected, you can do that. But in general, men have 15 to 20 times the testosterone levels, the hormone that is responsible for muscle growth, in comparison to women. We, on the other hand, have progesterone and estrogen, which actually promote fat storage.
Yeah, you have to work that much harder.
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So if anything, with the right nutrition plan, you're gonna just land up with a lean toned body. Like you're not. It's gonna be very hard to get past that.
Right.
So that's one. And then number two is that women think that we even have a choice. So that strength training is an option. It's not an option at all. After the age of 30, for some at the end of the age of 20, like at the end of their 20s, we are losing, and that's depending on their lifestyle, but we lose muscle mass and bone density year on year.
A lot more than people think, and it
Exactly.
accumulates.
It accumulates, and before you know it, that is going to make you susceptible to injury. It's going to make you, you might end up with osteoporosis.
Exactly. Yeah.
And just a general decline in quality of life, right? So I wouldn't even say it's an option. Like, you have to go to the gym, or you have to go and do something that is going to inspire you to go and lift weights.
Yeah.
And it becomes more and more important. Like, we are expecting that our bone density and our muscle mass is going to reduce. So
Yeah, exactly.
you have to intervene now in some way.
And you're a perfect example of that. You don't look like Arnold.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah, I mean, I think that was my concern at the beginning.
Okay,
as well.
that's actually good to know that it was even in your mind.
It was, and then I think I came with no choice, because I had that knee injury, and then I told myself that it's not going to be enough to be flexible and right. But at the same time, I think it's worth addressing. Just the way strength training is important for women, mobility is very important for men.
Absolutely.
And I think that we have like basic parameters by which people get impressed.
Right.
He can touch his toes, or he can do a deep squat. I think those are basic levels of fitness that will allow you to live a quality life
100%,
post 80. So it goes both ways. And I
yeah.
see both those types of students coming to class as well.
Yeah,
So,
that's very good point. But you touch about nutrition, because I know that's something that you also are very, very know about yourself is both nutrition and sleep is something I know you take very seriously.
Yeah,
But on the nutrition question, I was going to ask you because I know that you're a vegetarian,
yeah.
but you also know that the importance of protein.
Yes, yes.
So how do you get that in your diet in the Indian environment? Because I thought that'd be good for people to know as
So
well.
I have to put out, I do eat eggs.
Okay.
But that being said, I still don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
Based on just what my general diet is. So I do add protein in all of my meals pretty much through, various beans and dals and
Yeah.
things like that. But it takes 3 bowls of dal to kind of even quantify or like be in parallel to say chicken or
Right.
any of the non-vegetarian options. So I do recommend people find protein source like a protein, a whey protein, or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
suits their body. A
Yeah.
lot of vegan protein options
Right.
have
Plant-based stuff. Or
absolutely, because that protein is actually going to help with the, it's going to, what would I say, optimize your muscle growth.
Yep.
And so it's very important to, like, you have to eat protein even as people get older. My grandparents, I tell them they have to add
me too.
like protein to their meals, and they're just not used to it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's tough for them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then sleep is another one that I really admire for you because I'll give you another funny Teja story. There are many of them, but I love the fact that if sometimes, we've gone out for dinner with you and your husband, Param, a couple of times, and I love the fact that if it's 9:30, then you would leave sometimes. And I would do the same thing because it's like, oh, I need to get my
Yeah.
8 hours of sleep.
I do. And so, I mean, I think it's based on what people prioritize. If, like, when I look at it, it's just a displaced sleep
Yeah.
schedule, right? So I sleep at, say, 8 or 9, and I wake up at 4 a.m. So I think people are more surprised and it makes them uncomfortable that I wake up at 4. But in reality, like, I'm getting my 7, 8 hours in, and you make the same friends that will stick
Yeah.
by your schedule. They're the ones who are going to stick.
We all flock together.
Yeah, they do. They do. And you end up having lunches or early evenings rather than because and you make the most of that time because you have to be present.
Yeah, I know. I've started noticing that shift with myself as well now.
do, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'd rather hang out with people earlier in the day.
I know. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Maybe we're just getting older also.
that is definitely a factor. You become smarter, right? As you get older, you know what your friend circle becomes a lot more
Aligned.
cozy in that sense, aligned. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna probably be hanging out with the same type of people as you grow older. So
Yeah.
so there's that. Yeah.
But yeah, we're talking about sleep, we're talking about food. I mean, now as we talked about, big events that happen in your life. Probably the biggest one that's just happened about 6, 7 months ago for you.
Yeah.
And that now that you're a mom, and not just a mom, as I said earlier, a super mom. So how are you managing that? Because I still see you. I mean, you even during when you were pregnant. Actually, maybe that's something worth talking about, and that you were exercising through a lot of that as well.
I was.
And I'm sure that would have been. Or maybe you can just talk about your experience of how that was.
So I mean, obviously, as women, we're given this gift of
Yeah.
creating life, right? But it does come with its own challenges. So your hormones start to shift the minute you get pregnant, and then you end up with sleepless nights, and your brain actually switches and prioritizes this baby.
Yeah.
And jokingly in the mother community, we call it mom brain because you literally you forget daily regular tasks. You kind of like you're not able to stay as present, and that lasts for quite a long time. And how do you expect it not to, right? Because it's essentially a neural adaptation to such a huge physiological change. You kept this baby in your uterus for like 9 months, right? So I think that is natural. But I think one thing that was my anchor during my entire pregnancy, and like you very importantly mentioned, I stayed active throughout my pregnancy. And so that's where I planted the seeds, because I think there's this misconception, and all the aunties around us kind of tell us, this is
Take
your
it
one
easy,
time,
don't-
take it easy.
Just sleep around.
Exactly. Eat whatever
feed
you
you, we'll
want.
feed you.
We'll feed you. And that's all well and good. But the minute
It's well intended.
it's well intended, but the minute you get out of your pregnancy, you're not very well. You suddenly are lifting this baby that's growing every month. You are dealing with a lot of unpredictability. And in those moments, fitness is your really your best friend. So I continued, like, obviously I modified.
Yeah. You adapt.
Yeah, you adapt. I wasn't as intense. I wasn't working out for as long, but I made sure I was consistent, and I made sure that no matter what, I was like showing up every single day. Like so, and so towards my third trimester, that meant I was just doing like these long walks and listening to podcasts, and because I knew that I wanted to ensure that I maintain that momentum. Yeah. And so postpartum, and I had a natural delivery, fortunately. And so within the first 2 weeks of, and just talking about fitness, it was a lot easier to so-called bounce back. But it did take a lot of effort initially. Like if I had not been active during pregnancy, I don't think I'd be able to, get back into my fitness regime very easily. And, it's just you become hyper-focused because now you're sharing your schedule with another human being, right? Especially if you throw in breastfeeding.
Right. Yeah.
Which is, again, I think a topic that...
Are you sharing it or are you a slave to it right now?
Now I'm loving it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. It was difficult in the beginning, and that's a topic for another time. I do think mothers should be given a lot more support in and around that because it is a beautiful experience if you are able to kind of stick to it. Considering if all your parameters are okay. And so I think it becomes all the more challenging to even get to that flow state. You just require a lot more discipline. And so I think just being active, staying active, picking up 45 minutes right after you've fed, because you don't have the liberty to take 20 minutes off and then kind of get back. You won't necessarily get your workout in. So you become really, you optimize on everything because time is of essence, right? So I think that's kind of how I've kind of managed, and it's amazing now. I think the first 3 months were hard, but I'm 6 months in, and now I'm loving it.
Now you're unleashed.
And now I'm unleashed, yes. I know. I think it reinforces everything that we're trying to get out there with Unleash, just consistency and gaining momentum, and then just trusting the process.
Well, yeah, it's such a beautiful place that you created. So actually, but coming back to Unleash, where would you like to see it going?
Yeah, so Unleash, that way, my studio is like a lab in that sense. I want to promote alternative fitness forms, and I want to have people coming from all over the world to provide their workshops and their expertise. I'm hoping that is where it goes in terms of just bringing the best people to come and teach and do retreats here at Unleash. But Unleash in that sense that's the studio part of it. I would like Unleash. I would love to take our teachings everywhere, right? So giving workshops all around the world.
But that's what resonated with me so much, and especially with the wellness center we have here, is that about the perfect amalgamation of exercise, mental well-being, the nutrition, everything that you've got covered over there is something that we do over here as well. So,
and I love that because I think what you have Jahangir and then you have Jahangir Wellness Center because nothing replaces what doctors can give us, in terms of like they've studied to give us the treatment they give us, and but if you can choose prevention over treatment, that is always beautiful, and I love that you guys have that. You're trying to promote that.
Absolutely. And that's what, exactly. And what I was coming to is that wellness from a holistic perspective.
Absolutely.
It's not just one thing, or, you're not just focusing on the emotional or mental well-being or just doing yoga for that. You're, focusing on the exercise, or it all becomes this beautiful little...
Yeah, there's so much transference between each part of it. And
exactly.
The minute you kind of explore and you're open to all these different formats of it, you get to experience the beauty of it. So I think,
Well, lovely. I think it's been amazing talking to you. Finally, I get to expose a lot of the stories that inspire me from Teja.
I'm glad you did, because I think a lot of people think the same way.
Good, as they should. As they should.
As in terms of my sleep and the craziness around that. But
Well, we need crazy people like us to hopefully keep pushing the barrier.
It's true. It's true. Absolutely. You do need a little bit of craziness kind of push.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here, Teja. It's been fantastic talking to you.
I loved being here in Kav.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. And we will see you in next week's episode. But before you leave, please do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button right at the bottom over here. Thank you and see you soon.